It's your favorite cousin, your favorite uncle, your favorite nephew, your favorite father, your favorite son, your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry, and welcome to Living For You, the YouTube channel. This is a safe space and a positive place in which we come here and we educate ourselves and we grow together and we learn from one another just to be better people in our present lives, just to have a more happy, fulfilling, joyful experience here in our present lives. For those of you who are new to the channel, I am Dr. Larry Smith. I am a certified life and spiritual coach. I own a business called Live For You Coaching. You can actually go out and find more about me and my businesses and all that I have to offer, from the books to the classes to whatever, at www.liveforyoucoaching.com. That is www.liveforyoucoaching.com. And for those of you who want to follow me on social media, you can go ahead and follow me. It should be on the screen at Dr. Larry Smith on both Instagram and Facebook. That is at Dr. Larry Smith on both Instagram and Facebook. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe to the channel because you become a family member. You can, my family members who's been here since day one can attest. This is a wonderful place. This is a place in which you don't find that often out here on the internet. So enjoy it. Contribute, participate, send messages, leave comments, email me, ask questions, whatever. But whatever the case may be, this is a positive place. All right, so I wanted to get on today and I wanted to talk about the importance of understanding that there should be a difference between cancellation and holding somebody accountable. I think in this woke slash Me Too slash calling out injustices slash fighting social justice fighting generation that we're in now, time period that we're in now, it's easy to blur the lines between people who need to be canceled versus people who just need to be held accountable for their actions. And we've seen multiple times in which this has come into question. Of course, one of the more recent times have been with Dave Chappelle, comedian Dave Chappelle. Now, on the reality, I'm not a big fan of Dave Chappelle, but it's not because of what he said. It's just I just don't find him funny. I didn't really find him funny back years ago. I think the last time I actually enjoyed watching Dave Chappelle was in a movie called Half Baked that came out in the 90s. I think it was the 90s. Nevertheless, his brand of humor is not mine. It might be funny for somebody else. It's not mine. Nevertheless, Dave Chappelle has gotten in trouble recently for making some not so nice, in fact, borderline disparaging comments about the trans community. And everybody was in uproar. It went on his Netflix special, and a lot of people was like, well, maybe they should take the special down, cancel Dave Chappelle, all of these other things. Well, I got a chance to see pieces of it. Like I said, I didn't watch the special, but I got a chance to see pieces of it. And he did say disparaging things about the trans community. And so the outrage and the upset is correct. But then on the other flip side, there was so much to it. He mentioned how one of his close friends was a trans woman, and she taught him his perception of what it means to be trans and how he sees it. She kind of agreed with him on some of that stuff. And then on the flip side, he also mentioned that he had been sexually abused as a child in that same special. And that got no attention, right? That got I didn't see hardly anything about that. I think I saw one post on TikTok about that specific moment in the conversation of that on that special. Either way, what I gather from what I've seen, what I gather from what I understand about Dave Chappelle and seeing him in interviews, hearing him speak just in general, he's not a canceled person. He's not someone who should be canceled for his behavior. He should be educated and held accountable for his behavior. See, the thing is, everyone should be held accountable, but some people are beyond accountability in that they're repetitive in their actions, or they don't show any signs of remorse, or they don't show any desire to try to learn more about what they're speaking about so ignorantly. That is when we put people in the cancellation phase. Or if people do things and then they show no remorse at all for it, even if it's just once, and they show no remorse, they blame everybody else, they push back, they don't show any signs of I'm trying to learn, or I want to do better, or I'm sorry for what I did, then maybe that's the person who's cancelable. But everybody isn't supposed to be canceled. Some people just need to be educated and held accountable for their words, their actions, their deeds, their mistakes, or whatever you want to call them. Because we're getting into a place now where we're not dealing with things. As a life coach, as a spiritual coach, it is super important for me to help people deal with stuff. One of the easiest go-to that many of my clients have gone through, that I have gone through, people I know have gone through, family and friends, is instead of dealing with stuff, they flight, right? It's either fight or flight, and no one seems to be wanting to fight, so they just flight. They run away from their problems. They ignore their problems. They act like the problem doesn't exist. And so the easy tendency is just to say, I'm not going to deal with it, be done with the problem. And we've done that with people with this cancel culture, right? Instead of educating people, instead of giving people a chance to learn and to grow, or giving people a chance to explain themselves, we just kind of off with them. You're done. You're canceled. And so we just cancel people. And I think that that's a dangerous thing. Because one, we're not creating meaningful dialogue that needs to be created amongst different issues. And we're not really addressing the issue, right? The issue, you're not canceling somebody's not going to make them change their perception of life. I think people have the perception that if you affect somebody's money, then that's going to make them change their perception of life. No, you're going to make them either change because they don't want to lose their money, or you're going to make them go the other way and refuse to change. So it doesn't really work as a way of changing people's thoughts on things. Education works that way. And so if you give people the opportunity to educate themselves, to know more about a subject that they're not familiar with, then you watch to see how they respond to that education, and if it took hold, and if whether or not this person is somebody who is redeemable, who just needed to be held accountable for their actions. But if they show no remorse, and if they don't care, and it doesn't matter who they offend, then canceling them might be your choice. Now, it's inevitable to understand that not everybody's going to cancel somebody. So even if you cancel somebody, or if I cancel somebody, or if a whole group of people cancel somebody, it doesn't mean that that person will no longer have people supporting them, buying their tickets, going to see them, giving them money. It's just one thing. And we have to realize that we're so divided in today's society that just the act of canceling somebody will get them a million fans of people who disagree with your perspective. So I feel instead of going that route, if it's a person that can be educated on the subject, or if it's a person that even has the desire to learn more about a subject that they're unfamiliar with, why not educate them? I see this a lot, especially when you're dealing with things along racism and sexuality and politics and different things. People are just, I'm picking a side, this is my side, and if you disagree with my side, I don't want to have anything to do with you. That is not a healthy approach at all to really anything in life. If it was possible to ignore and to disregard and to dismiss everything that you did not feel comfortable with about life, then there'll be nothing to give you lessons to make you a stronger, better, more resilient person, because you're avoiding all your lessons. It's like all the bumps in the road. Instead of going over the bumps on your journey in the road, you walk around them. Instead of climbing the mountains that you will inevitably experience as a human, you go around them. You take the long way around. But here's the thing about life. All of those bumps and mountains and things that you have to go through are valuable and are necessary for your forward progression. So if you're going to grow as a person, if you're going to be a better person, then guess what? You're going to have to go through as many mountains that are going to come towards you so that you can grow and be a better person. And so we should think about the same thing when we're dealing with people. People make mistakes. People say things and do things that they don't intend to, or that in the moment they intended to do. But at the end of the day, the factor of forgiveness is big. We have to look at things for what they're worth and not for how they feel emotionally to us. Too many times people think out of emotions and then wind up doing something rash and drastic and wind up regretting it later. At the end of the day, from a logical perspective, think about it in terms of how can I make this a teachable moment, or a learnable moment for myself, or whatever the case may be. There's always growth potential. And so I feel like it's important that instead of trying to just cancel people who disagree with how we feel, why not have a meaningful dialogue to see what both of your positions are, to try to understand where you stand so you can understand where they stand, so you can have the conversation and probably meet some way in the middle. Or agree to disagree and walk away, but in peace. Having a peaceful relationship, and there's no contention because you know where you both stand. In addition to the cancellation versus accountability conversation, we also have to understand that there are people who are just way too sensitive today. Yes, I said it. There are people who are way too sensitive today. Everything that hits you isn't supposed to hurt. Everything that comes that doesn't feel good, that doesn't resonate within your spirit, isn't really supposed to hurt you. You're really supposed to be a lot stronger than that as a person, especially if you're comfortable in who you are. You're resilient and you're fully self-assured and have full self-esteem of who you are. Every dagger that is thrown shouldn't hit or hurt you. So I think people are sometimes, not always, but I think people are way too sensitive nowadays. Dave Chappelle is a comedian. The Baby is a rapper. Lil Boosie is a rapper. They're entertainers. Do you actually think that we should be taking them as serious as we are when it comes to important things that neither one of them are educated on? I'm not going to go to a heart doctor expecting them to work on my teeth. That is not their expertise. And I'm not going to go to a dentist and expecting them to be able to perform heart surgery. That is not their expertise. And so if it's not their expertise, and a dentist may have an opinion on a heart surgery, and a heart surgeon may have an opinion on dentistry, that's fine. But I'm not going to value their opinion like it's the end all be all of opinions out there on the planet about that particular subject that they're talking about, that they're not knowledgeable about, and it's not in their field. So Dave Chappelle being a comedian, The Baby and others being rappers, I don't get offended at what they say, because I know that they're just entertainers, and I don't take their words about subjects they know nothing about seriously. You know, it's the same way I feel about a bunch of people talking about critical race theory. When you ask them what it is and what they've read about it and what they've seen about it, very few can actually give you an example and an understanding of what they know about it, because it's just buzzwords. It's just buzzwords. Now, I do know that there are certain sectors of society who are going to hold these entertainers to such a regard that they feel like they're speaking for them. That's not them, Dave Chappelle and The Baby's fault. That's these people's fault. Now, I do believe that when you have influence, you're supposed to be responsible, but I also know that sometimes, as public figures, we don't always act the most responsible with the powers that we've been given. And so I think accountability is where it goes. Those people who follow them blindly should be accountable for that, and they should be accountable for just saying things with the public platforms that they have. But does it require cancellation? Not necessarily. Does it even require a response? Not necessarily. Because the more you put into a negative response to someone, the more that comes out of it and the more fuel you're adding to it. So I think it's important that we understand that everyone doesn't need to be canceled, because if you cancel everyone, no one will be here anymore. That includes you. But people should be held accountable for their words, their actions. And if they're not beyond the scope of anything that is just wrong, then we have to consider whether or not this is an accountability situation versus a cancellation situation. I'll use R. Kelly, for example. You guys already know, I've said on this platform my thoughts about R. Kelly. I don't listen to his music. I don't buy his music. I don't support him because of what he's done. The child molestations and all the other things, that rapes and all the other things that he's been accused, and it's been found out that he has done some of these things. So I don't support that, and I don't support him. He's someone who is beyond, he should be held accountable, but he needs more than accountability. He deserves to go off into his world by himself without anybody supporting that. And there are still people who support him. And so my cancellation of R. Kelly may not even matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's my own personal choice. And this cancellation thing is everybody's own personal choice. But I subscribe to the notion, or I put it out there that maybe before we cancel, let's see if we can hold them accountable and see how they respond to accountability. And then if the response to the accountability is not one that shows any remorse or any growth or any desire to learn and do better, then we have to go into the phase of considering cancellation. Cancellation to me should not be the first go-to. It should be after we see that they're not growing or showing remorse or trying to be better, and that they have no feelings of sorrow for what they've done. That's it. I wanted to get on here and talk about that because that's been going around, this idea of cancellation, holding people accountable. This generation loves to do that. Now, I will say this before I wrap up. If you are a person who likes to hold people accountable, please know that you should be holding yourself accountable before anybody else. If you are a person who can't hold yourself accountable, but you're pointing fingers out at holding somebody else accountable, then you're not doing it. you're not doing it, because you should be able to hold yourself accountable first. That's it. I hope you guys felt that message. Respond, comment, like, and share, whatever. Talk about it. Give your opinions. I'm more than happy to listen to opinions and to read opinions and to even share opinions. Hey, I am just one person on this journey, and I'm learning just as much as we're learning together. So let's learn together. As I always say, I love you, love you, love you with the highest love that I can love you, and I will see you in the next video.